Welcome to a very exciting reading vlog. I have been wanting to film this one for quite a while now and I just haven't found any free time to film it, but I have this whole week free. By week I mean 5 days. So I thought now would be the perfect time to film a reading only Colleen Hoover books for a week video. I've read about 4 coho books and I have enjoyed every single one of them, so I am very excited to be doing this challenge. So this is the pile of unread coho books that I currently own. So we're gonna go through this stack. Obviously not gonna be reading every single one of these books in this video because there's no way I'm gonna get through this whole pile in a whole week. But these are the books that I am going to be choosing from. I haven't actually like set a specific TBR for this video because I'm just gonna look at this pile and just pick whatever book I feel like. To start this readathon, I think day 1, I'm going to choose Confess. I believe this is Rachel Catherine, who is one of my favorite YouTubers' favorite coho book. So I am very, very excited to read this. And also this is on my TBR for this month. I'm going to read the back of the book for you guys as well. Auburn Reed has lost everything important to her. In her fight to rebuild her shattered life, she has her goals in sight and there is no room for mistakes. But when she walks into a Dallas art studio in search of a job, she doesn't expect to find a deep attraction to the enigmatic artist who works there, Owen Gentry. For once, Auburn takes a chance and puts her heart in control, only to discover that Owen is keeping a major secret from coming out. The magnitude of his past threatens to destroy everything Auburn loves most, and the only way to get her life back on track is to cut Owen out of it. To save their relationship, all Owen needs to do is confess. But in this case, the confession could be much more destructive than the actual sin. This book sounds so good, so let's get started. Okay, so I haven't actually started reading yet, but I just finished reading the dedication and I wanted to read it out to you guys because it's so cool. So the confessions you read within this novel are true confessions, submitted anonymously by readers. This book is dedicated to all of you who found the courage to share them. There's actual real life confessions sent in anonymously by coho fans that's actually in this book. That is freaking awesome. The dedication itself is getting me hyped for this book. I forgot to mention before, but this is going to be a spoiler-free reading vlog, just in case you guys haven't already read any of these coho books before. I don't want to spoil anything for you, so this is going to be spoiler-free, and I will give you guys little updates as we go, and obviously my ratings at the end, but let's officially start reading. Just reached page 72, which is chapter 5, so I thought I would do my first check-in for Confess. So I'm really enjoying the story so far. It is so interesting, especially the confessions aspect of it. We've already been introduced to some of the confessions in this book and some of them are wild. Like, it's crazy to think that these confessions are from real people, but they just add so much depth and realness to the book, which I just really enjoy and find so interesting. So Owen and Auburn have met. They actually met in chapter 1 because Auburn is looking for a second job and she sees a help wanted sign at Owen's art gallery and she ends up getting the job to help him sell his paintings on the like gallery showing day night thing. I don't know what it's called. And turns out that because it's in dual POV, you get to see both perspectives of Owen and Auburn. Owen actually has met or like seen Auburn before in the past, which is really interesting because Auburn doesn't recognize Owen at all. So I was like, okay, there's a link to them to the past, but how do they know each other in the past? So that's already a question that I've got. And the way the confessions tie into this story is that Owen actually has people send him anonymous confessions and he turns those confessions into art. And I think that concept is so freaking cool. And what is even cooler remember is that in this book, there's paintings, or like Owen's paintings included in the book along with the confessions to match up, and I just love that. I think it just adds so much to the book, and I have just been loving reading the confessions. That is honestly so far my favorite part of the book. It is so interesting. Also, this quote from Auburn on page 13 I could like totally relate to, honestly. It's just such a long walk from work to home, and long walks make me contemplate my life, and my life makes me cry. Mood. Not really much of an update, but I'm on page 112, and you guys, Auburn got stood up on her birthday, and literally no one in Texas has wished her a happy birthday except for the bartender, and I'm like, that is so freaking sad. I feel so bad for Auburn. On top of that, Owen also stood her up 3 weeks ago, and they haven't spoken or anything in 3 weeks until her birthday night because he has to like come rescue her from the bar. And Auburn was like so mad about it, and she ended up leaving a confession at Owen's art gallery, and this was her confession. I met this really great guy 3 weeks ago. He taught me how to dance, reminded me of what it feels like to flirt, walked me home, made me smile, and then, you're an asshole, Owen. P.S. Your initials are so stupid. Like, you go, girl. Also, Auburn has been told by this guy who's like a police officer that Owen is bad news and just to stay away from him. So that makes me intrigued to see what is the secret that Owen is hiding, especially because the back of the book did say Owen needs to confess, but his confession could be more destructive than the actual sin. And now there's this guy that's saying that Owen is bad news. That's what's happening at the moment. I'm literally flying through this book though. Can I just say it is so good, has me hooked. So I've just reached part 1. I am now up to part 2, which is the last 100 pages, and oh my goodness, did we stop off at a plot twist in true coho style. So we found out what Owen's sin is, which we kind of are led to already knowing what it is, but you find out why he can't confess. But guys, I am so frustrated at Owen's dad because he doesn't stand up for him, doesn't defend him, nothing, even though Owen's dad knows the truth, and it freaking frustrates me. Oh my god, guys, I just had to show this. Owen just painted Auburn, and like, look how stunning. Love. I just finished Confess, and oh my god, the last 50 to 100 pages were absolutely crazy, but I freaking loved it. This book was just so interesting. I loved the idea of confessions being turned into art, and I loved how Owen and Auburn met, and also their like little connection to the past as well. Like, you find out how they're connected for within the last 2 chapters, and I thought that was so interesting because it was literally like a fate, destiny sort of situation, and I love that. I loved how strong-willed Auburn was, and she's been having to fight basically every day of her life ever since she was 15, after she went through something that was very heartbreaking, which you find out quite early on in the book. Same with Owen as well. Owen also dealt with something really traumatic in his past. Owen was just such a selfless, sweet human being, and I love this book. Like, I literally love this book with my whole entire heart. Also, this is not a spoiler, but there is a love triangle in this book between Auburn, Owen, and this other guy, and Auburn's kind of like forced to be in a relationship with him because he's kind of blackmailing her into it, and also she feels like she has no choice but to be dating this guy in order for her to get something that she's been working so hard to get towards, and he's like the key to that. And it was so heartbreaking and so frustrating and annoying to read, especially because I feel like he deserved a worse ending than what he got in this book. If you guys know what I'm talking about, please let me know if you think the same, because while I was reading like where he kind of ended up, I guess, I was like, he got off so scot-free. Like, he deserved so much worse. But can I just say, like, how Auburn was able to actually like spin it around and blackmail him after he blackmailed her? Phenomenal. She literally like pulled an Uno reverse card. Loved it. But yeah, this book got a 5 out of 5 stars from me. Absolutely recommend it to you guys. It is so interesting. It's only like 300 pages and I finished this in a day. So yeah, that concludes day 1. I will see you guys tomorrow for day 2. It is day 2 of reading coho books for a week. Yesterday I finished Confess and I absolutely loved it, and today I'm going to be starting Reminders of Him and I am so excited. This is Coho's latest release. I say latest, but it came out in January this year and I'm just very late to picking it up. After serving 5 years in prison for a tragic mistake, Kenna Rowan returns to the town where it all went wrong, hoping to reunite with her 4-year-old daughter, but the bridges Kenna burned are proving impossible to rebuild. Everyone in her daughter's life is determined to shut Kenna out. The only person who hasn't closed the door on her completely is Ledger Ward, a local bar owner and one of the few remaining links to Kenna's daughter. But if anyone were to discover how Ledger is slowly becoming an important part of Kenna's life, both would risk losing the trust of everyone important to them. I can already tell this is going to be a very emotional read just based on the fact that it's a mother trying to get back into her 4-year-old daughter's life. And I'm also interested to see what Kenna went to prison for and what was this big tragic mistake. Halfway through Reminders of Him. I'm on page 159, which is chapter 23, and oh my goodness guys, I have not been able to put this book down. I've just basically been sitting on the couch reading 158 pages straight. I don't know how Colleen Hoover does it. Like every time, I swear, she just completely sucks you in that you forget you're reading. I feel like so much has happened within just the first 50% of the book. So far we found out why Kenna has gone to prison in the first place. We find that out very early on in the book actually, and I'm not going to mention what she's in prison for because it is a mild spoiler, but it is something she's responsible for and it is something that's pretty big. But also at the same time, it was a tragic mistake slash accident. A part of me can also understand the perspective from the other side of why they would not be so keen on having Kenna around her daughter after what happened, but like at the same time, it's not something that they should hold on top of Kenna's head for the rest of her life because it was a tragic mistake that happened 5 years ago, and it is just so sad to see everyone kind of shut her down. But now that she's out of prison, she wants to be a part of her daughter's life and be a mother because she has no idea how her daughter looks like, and she's never actually met her daughter. Like straight out of giving birth, she didn't get to see her daughter like again after that, and she's been like holding out for hope for the last 5 years in prison that after this 5-year period's over she'll be able to be reunited with her daughter. But it's definitely not easy because the grandparents who have custody of her daughter are basically like trying to get a restraining order against her, which sucks because Kenna is such a beautiful soul and like she would be such a good mother if she did have custody of her daughter. On her first day out of prison, Kenna actually meets Ledger, but she introduces herself as Nicole because she doesn't want anyone to know that she's Kenna in case they shut her out. But she doesn't actually realize that Ledger is a link to Kenna's daughter until Ledger introduces himself and she recognizes his truck. But Ledger actually never got to meet Kenna, so he doesn't actually know what she looks like, so that's why he doesn't recognize Kenna when they first meet. And Kenna's daughter is pretty much like Ledger's niece and they're like really close, and it's so cute because obviously Kenna doesn't even know what her daughter looks like, and he's showing her videos and photos of her daughter, and her daughter basically looks like a mini version of Kenna, and it is so wholesome. And I'm hoping this book has a freaking good ending because I am so attached to Kenna and her character. Like she just has so much depth to her. Also, I want to read out this quote for you guys because I feel like a lot of us can resonate with this. Moments like these remind me that happiness isn't some permanent thing we're all trying to achieve in life. It's merely a thing that shows up every now and then, sometimes in tiny doses that are just substantial enough to keep us going. That quote is the quote that made me realize that I need to tab this book. Also, I forgot to mention, but this book is in dual POV, so you jump between Kenna and Ledger, and I love that so much because you get so much extra detail about the story. And also I love it because you really get to see the relationship that Ledger has with Kenna's daughter as well. I love the way Colleen Hoover has written her daughter, because her daughter is just so sweet and wholesome. Okay, I've been rambling for way too long, so I'm gonna go back to reading. It is now day 3 of this little readathon. Last night I managed to finish Reminders of Him, and oh my goodness, this book broke my heart, put it back together, had me in my feels, really just was incredible. I know that I said I loved Confess, which I still do love Confess, but I think I'm going to change my rating for Confess to 4.5 stars, because now that I think about it, I feel like it's more of a 4.5 star read, but I still really like that book. But Reminders of Him, this is 100% a 5-star read for me. I woke up this morning and I was thinking about this book because, oh my goodness, I fell in love with the characters. I absolutely loved Kenna and Ledger. I really loved Kenna's determination to get back into her daughter's life. I love the connection that Ledger had with Kenna's daughter, and the ending. Oh my god, bless my ending. The ending was just absolutely incredible. Kenna and Ledger just deserve the entire world, and I'm so glad that they got that at the end of the book. Chapter 33. That chapter actually broke me. I didn't cry, but I was definitely very emotional, especially at chapter 33. If you know, you know. I don't want to say that this is Colleen Hoover's best book because I haven't read all of her books yet to officially say which one is my favorite. But out of all the books that I've read from her so far, Reminders of Him is up there as #1 because beautiful story, beautiful writing, beautiful quotes, beautiful characters, just beautiful everything in this book. Anyways, since I finished Reminders of Him last night, it means that I got to pick another coho book to read for day 3. I'm gonna start maybe someday. So Colleen Hoover actually collaborated with a musician for this book because this book I think follows a character who writes music, and the musician that she collaborated with actually provided an original soundtrack to accompany this book, which is so cool. I'm gonna read the back of the book though because I actually have no idea what this book is about. At 22 years old, Sydney is enjoying a great life. She's in college, working a steady job, in love with her wonderful boyfriend Hunter, and rooming with her best friend Tori. But everything changes when she discovers that Hunter is cheating on her, and she's forced to decide what her next move should be. Soon, Sydney finds herself captivated by her mysterious and attractive neighbor Ridge. She can't take her eyes off of him or stop listening to the passionate way he plays his guitar every evening out on his balcony, and there's something about Sydney that Ridge can't ignore either. They soon find themselves needing each other in more ways than one. Okay, based on what I'm reading at the back, it sounds like it kind of has a love triangle. A love triangle is very hit or miss with me. Maybe there is no love triangle because she probably broke up with her boyfriend after she caught him cheating on her. I don't know. I'm just over halfway through Maybe Someday, and I'm very iffy on it because there is one big trope in here that I absolutely do not like. Like, I cannot stand this trope. But basically, Sydney finds out that her boyfriend cheated on her, and she ends up moving in with Ridge, who is a guitarist, and his character is kind of interesting because he is a deaf musician, and he's not mute, but he chooses not to speak, so his only form of communication is through sign language and texting. And Ridge and Sydney actually form a friendship because Ridge is going through major writer's block for songwriting, and Sydney is a songwriter, so they kind of form this friendship where Sydney actually helps him write songs, and he also lets her stay at his apartment because she's essentially homeless on her 22nd birthday. The only thing that's kind of like redeeming the book for me is the fact that the songs in the book, there is a whole Spotify playlist for those songs, and I've been listening to them as I've been reading them, and it just like completely transforms the reading experience. It is so cool. And I'm also really liking the side characters. I love Warren and Bridget. They are two of Ridge's roommates who are actually in love, and I think they actually have a novella, which is the next book, which is probably going to be also read in this reading vlog. But I am just really struggling with shipping Sydney and Ridge together, and I'm just finding them really annoying in the book so far, especially because the cheating trope just makes me feel so uncomfortable, especially when like the third party is such a nice person, and also especially because one of the characters has actually felt what it feels like to be cheated on and be betrayed. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and give you an update because I'm actually going to stop reading for the night. I'm on page 227, which is chapter 16. I'm going to continue reading. I've only got like another 140 pages I think left to go, so I'm gonna finish this off tomorrow, and then I will give you a full review and rating once I finish the book. It is day 4 and I just finished Maybe Someday. I am still like working through my thoughts at the moment, so I think I'm going to give you guys my rating and review in day 5 tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm going to read Maybe Not. All I can say though is that this is probably my least favorite Colleen Hoover book that I have read so far. It's just not something that I click with, and I also really couldn't connect to the characters. It is day 5, the final day of this coho readathon. Honestly, it's been such a fun week reading Colleen Hoover books for a week straight. So for my final book, you guys would have seen me talk about it briefly yesterday, is Maybe Not. This is the second book in the Maybe Someday series. This actually follows two of the side characters, Warren and Bridget, from the first book. Warren and Bridget's relationship is like roommates with benefits, kind of enemies to lovers. They banter a lot, so I'm excited to see that. And I'm actually excited to read this book because we got little snippets of them and their relationship in the first book, and I really liked Warren. He was actually my favorite character from Maybe Someday, so I'm excited that he has his own book. It is in Warren's POV, so I'm excited. Well, we'll soon find out when I start reading it. I just finished Maybe Not, and I can confirm that I definitely prefer Maybe Not over Maybe Someday, but let's talk about both of these two books because I have decided my ratings. So Maybe Someday, I ended up rating 3 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed listening to the soundtrack along with the book because I feel like that really just enhanced the reading experience. And I also really liked the deaf representation with Ridge. I have never read a book that had deaf representation in that, so that was really interesting. I also did like hearing more about Ridge's past, but I didn't really like the romance in this book. Obviously already talked about the love triangle cheating trope that was in this that really just made me not want to ship Sydney and Ridge together, even though like the book kind of tried to justify it towards the end. I was still like, yeah, I still don't really see the chemistry connection between Sydney and Ridge. Maybe Not, on the other hand, I actually really liked, although I do wish this was a little bit longer because I loved Warren and Bridget. I loved learning more about Bridget and her past because her past definitely impacted how she is at the moment, and I just loved the love that Warren and Bridget had for each other. And what was interesting is actually this book is kind of set a little bit before Maybe Someday, so you actually got to see how Warren and Bridget first met, and then it kind of like overlaps with the same timeline as Maybe Someday, so that was kind of cool to read as well. I would probably say, even though I definitely did like it a lot more than Maybe Someday, I think I would probably rate this around like a 3.5 stars, just because obviously it's only about 120 pages, so I would have preferred it if it was a little bit longer. And obviously you would have seen me read Confess, Confess and Reminders of Him for day 1 and day 2, and these were definitely the highlight of the reading vlog. I love the concept of Confess. It was just so cool and interesting. I love the soulmate connection and the plot twist. This one I did change the rating for, so it is a 4.5 stars. And then Reminders of Him, my favorite Colleen Hoover book that I have read to this date. It was absolutely incredible. Such a beautiful story, such beautiful characters, very emotional and gripping. Read this so fast, tabbed it, annotated it. Chef's kiss, amazing. Definitely recommend reading this one. It was so good. Still honestly thinking about this book. So yeah, those were the 4 books that I managed to read for this coho readathon. I definitely still have quite a few other Colleen Hoover books to get through, so maybe we'll do another coho readathon in the future. I am planning on doing a spooky reading vlog for Verity and hopefully Layla as well in October, so definitely stick around if you do want to see those vlogs coming up in October. I'm so excited to read them. I really hope you guys enjoy this reading vlog because I really enjoyed filming this one. Be sure to give it a huge thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to my channel down below. I post new videos every single week, and follow me over on my social medias. I'll have my Instagram, Bookstagram, and Goodreads and my Amazon wishlist linked down below if you guys want to check them out. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!